Hello, my name is Todd Vaughn. I'm the Communications and Community Engagement Coordinator for the City of Lacombe. I am here with the Community Economic Development Manager, Guy Lapointe. We are both with the city and we're both working on the DARP engagement process. And Guy here has actually been sitting in with our advisory committee that it will eventually make recommendations to council on potential projects for funding that has been made available. Guy, do you maybe want to talk a little bit about where we currently are with that engagement process and that committee?
Yeah, so we have completed phase one, and so that was where we actually had the survey that we offered up to the community. And as you've alluded to, Todd, we've moved on to the advisory committee sessions where a group of businesses, building owners, and residents are reviewing the initial feedback received. Most recently, they're brainstorming new ideas, and we'll be looking to formulate project recommendations to council in the end.
Absolutely. I do want to maybe just define a little bit further about what the role of that committee is, and also what the role of the city and also O2, who the city has engaged in this process. Like, what are maybe define the roles of each?
Yeah, so you talked about the committee. There is $1.7 million allocated to assisting with DARP implementation over the next 10 years. Yeah, it's the advisory committee's role to create a list of priority projects that they'll turn over to council for consideration. So any approved projects that get through council at that point would be moved to the 10-year capital plan. As for the city and O2, O2 is a consultant that's been hired to help facilitate these sessions. They're helping the group to take into consideration the DARP plan itself, as well as community feedback that came from the survey to ensure a well-rounded set of projects are recommended. And then from the city's perspective, we're sitting at the table in an advisory capacity, meaning that staff don't really have a vote, but they are there to provide expertise, such as costing of prospective projects. So again, we might come up with great ideas at that committee level. If they're too costly to fit into the budget, that's where the city would step in and say that really wouldn't be considered under the scope of this project.
So do you maybe want to talk a little bit more about the makeup of this committee and maybe even a little bit about the process on how we came about this committee, this particular group of people?
Yeah, so again, we go back to that initial survey. The respondents were asked to identify if they were interested in participating in the process further. And then from that information, we used it to inform the committee composition along with other factors, such as, relationship to the downtown. What I mean by that is, building owner or business owner or resident. And then we also looked at factors like availability, and we also wanted to ensure that there was inclusivity taken into consideration as well.
Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the next steps? When will this process wrap up, and kind of what will be presented to council eventually?
Yeah, so there's still there's a series of 5 sessions. We're through 2 at this point. Ultimately, the committee will complete its list of recommendations towards the end of March. And then those will be included in a final report to council in early April.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, you and I have been a part of this process, the engagement process beginning. What are your kind of overall thoughts on what you've seen and what you're seeing with this committee?
I think it'd be interesting to ask the committee what they think so far at this point, and maybe we'll have a chance to do that a little later. But in my perspective, it's been a very positive process. Lots of ideas, both from the community, but now being generated from this committee, active participation. And so in my mind, I think we'll have a very well-researched and informed set of recommendations that ultimately council will receive in April.
Absolutely. And I know I'm excited to see the type of projects that this group ultimately comes up with. I feel like it could be a variety of creative ideas that I couldn't even imagine. So I'm excited to seeing that, and hopefully we'll get a bit more insight into that in the near future. I want to thank you for talking to me about this today. And yeah, I look forward to having you on again and hear more about what's happening with this committee.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Guy.